Welcome to Gateway Medical Alliance's virtual fundraiser for 2021. My name is Greg Plett, and I have the privilege of serving as the Executive Director at Gateway Medical Alliance. I would like to thank you for joining us today. During our time, we're going to share with you how Gateway Medical Alliance is providing healthcare resources for the poor and the disadvantaged around the world. You'll be hearing stories from myself and also Dr. Spiger and his wife Anne as they share about the years they spent in Morocco. Come join us now as we share about how Gateway Medical Alliance is providing healthcare resources for the poor and disadvantaged around the world. The purpose of our time together today is to raise funds for Gateway Medical Alliance to continue its work around the world. Wouldn't it be great if together we were able to raise $60, $100, $120,000 or even more? Let's go ahead and look at 4 ways that you can give today. You can go to our website at gatewayma.org and click on the donate button and do an online payment on your computer, your tablet, or your cell phone. You can also mail a check to our P.O. Box. You can also text a donation to area code 253-881-8686, put the dollar amount in the message and hit send, and it'll walk you through the instructions to follow from there. Or you can call our call center at area code 253-872-5886 and talk to one of our staff members. Let's go ahead and look at Gateway Medical Alliance's history and celebrate the things they have been able to do over the past few years. The story of Gateway Medical Alliance begins with Dr. Spiger growing up in Rabat, Morocco as a child, as his dad was stationed in the U.S. Air Force. During that time, Dr. Spiger fell in love with the country and the people. In the 1990s, Dr. Spiger and others made multiple exploration trips into Morocco to see how they could assist and work with the people. In 1995, working as the Morocco Project, the first invitation to ship a container filled with medical supplies and equipment into Morocco was given. The first container arrived in Berkane, Morocco in 1997. In 2002, Gateway Medical Alliance was incorporated and shipped its very first container. In 2004, GMA came to the aid of earthquake-stricken North Africa. Also that year, the first Children's Therapy Center was launched. During 2006, GMA was registered as an official Moroccan association. In 2010, a significant partnership was developed with a medical school teaching hospitals across Morocco. 2012 brought the expansion of shipping supplies to other countries around the world. That year also, GMA moved to a bigger warehouse in Kent, Washington. In 2014, Dr. Spiker began the transition of leadership within Gateway Medical Alliance. The Morocco team leadership for GMA was established. And during that time, Greg Plett was brought on as the Executive Director of Gateway Medical Alliance International. In 2017 and 2018, exploration trips were made to Liberia, Ghana, and Cambodia. Today, GMA Morocco has team members who partner with 4 different children's therapy centers around Morocco. Also, we have partnerships with university hospitals and community development projects that include agricultural projects and health education classes. Since October 2021, GMA International has sent a total of 132 containers filled with medical supplies to our partners around the world. Those countries have included Cambodia, Ghana, Guinea, Haiti, Liberia, Madagascar, Marshall Islands, Morocco, Nigeria, Senegal, Sierra Leone, Tanzania, Uganda, Philippines, and the Ukraine. Gateway Medical Alliance, through strategic partnerships, serves as a catalyst to improve the lives of the poor and disadvantaged by sharing healthcare resources worldwide. Today, you have the opportunity to make an online donation, and all you have to do is just scroll down on your screen, select the dollar amount. Is this a recurring donation? So is it one time, monthly, or quarterly? Put your name, last name in. Determine, is it a payment that is a credit card, or are you going to mail a check? If you're going to mail a check, the address for Gateway Medical Alliance for our P.O. box will automatically pop up on the bottom. You can put your information in and hit submit, and that will let us know that you have a check coming in the mail. But if you select credit card, you can complete your transaction right now by putting your credit card number in, your address, your city, your email, and your phone number, and hit submit, and your donation will be recorded. The theme of our virtual fundraiser this year is adaptability. Adaptability is something that we each have to do in our day-to-day life. Just think about being in a developing country and not having all the resources to treat a patient or one who needs medical care. Let me share with you just right off the bat how a simple machine called a CPAP machine has made a difference in the lives of individuals in Liberia and Uganda. In Liberia, in the neonatal unit, they've been able to use this machine or one similar to it to provide oxygen into a tent to help a newborn baby breathe. They've also in Uganda been able to use this machine for treating patients with COVID-19. This is the only resource that they had available at that time to treat the patients with breathing issues. For you and I, this is a CPAP machine for sleep apnea. But our partners have had to be adaptable and work in the situation and make adjustments to take care of those that they serve in their communities. John Wooden, basketball coach, says, adaptability is being able to adjust to any situation at any given time. Let me say that one more time. Adaptability is being able to adjust to any situation at any given time. Just as our partners are working with the resources that we receive from hospitals and clinics and distributors here in the Puget Sound, we're able to send those, and they're able to adapt those to treat those that they love and those that they care for in their local communities. The first point of adaptability that I want to share is I have a flexible schedule. That reminds me of going overseas and visiting our partners. Every trip, you have to be flexible in what you do. Thinking back to Morocco and visiting Dr. Belkouchi in Rabat. Dr. Belkouchi will go visit at the hospital. That afternoon, he'll say, tonight about 6 o'clock, I'll bring a cab or a driver to come pick you up and take you to my house for dinner. About 6:30, no one's showing. 7 o'clock, we get a phone call. Your ride is here. 7:30, we get to the house, and Dr. Belkouchi is not there for dinner. So we wait, and we be flexible in our schedule. Half hour later, Dr. Belkouchi comes home, and the meal is served, and many different courses take place through that evening. We've had to be flexible on our trips, just as our volunteers have had to be flexible this year as they have served at Gateway. Let's welcome Mike and Ann in as they share some of the ways our volunteers have been flexible this past year.
The COVID pandemic, instead of shutting us down, like I think has happened with a lot of businesses and organizations,
right.
It actually opened up new methods of packing supplies.
Mm-hmm.
Greg and the team have masterfully adjusted to the situation.
At home packing.
Yes.
Limited numbers of people in the warehouse at a time. And the demand has been just the same.
Yes, and I think we shipped just as many containers during the pandemic as before the pandemic.
As we look at having a flexible schedule, you may say to yourself, I don't have time to serve at GMA at this point in time. I will do it tomorrow. I will put it off until a later date when I have more time. My encouragement to you is be flexible and make time today to be a partner and serve in our warehouse, going out and doing pickups, or volunteering just to pray and to support GMA in our work. So let's look at the book of Matthew, and it says, therefore, do not worry about tomorrow. It's so easy to worry about tomorrow. But it also says, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. So if we're going to say to ourselves, I'm going to wait till tomorrow to serve at GMA, tomorrow may never come. Think about volunteering today, this next week, and don't say tomorrow, because tomorrow will have enough trouble of its own. So as we look at volunteer opportunities at Gateway, there are many ways to be involved. You can be on our on-call list to go pick up supplies from a family, a hospital, or a distributor who has supplies to donate. It may be coming into our warehouse on a Tuesday or a Wednesday or Thursday to serve. We have volunteers that pack and sort items, individuals that repair equipment that goes out. We also have opportunities for businesses, churches, clubs to come serve locally and to have an impact around the world as they prepare the medical supplies. So our first point today is, I have a flexible schedule. How can you be flexible in your schedule to have an impact at Gateway Medical Alliance? Each of us like to give in different ways. And you know that you can call our call center right now at area code 253-872-5886 and talk to a staff member today. That number is 253-872-5886. Thank you for being a champion for Gateway Medical Alliance. Let's look at our second point of adaptability. I am ready with open arms. Thinking about open arms, I think about Dr. Sophie in Cambodia. Dr. Sophie continues to have open arms to serve his patients each day. It was during the Khmer New Year that this man experienced second and third degree burns on over 75% of his body from a gasoline explosion. Dr. Sophie used sterile pads and ointments from a container that Gateway Medical Alliance sent to treat this man's burns. This year, we have sent multiple containers to Cambodia. Those containers have been filled with supplies, but also durable medical equipment to give individuals freedom to be able to get around and move. Think of a woman receiving a walker to be able to walk around her community, or the man receiving crutches, or the woman being able to get around in her house in a wheelchair. But that also reminds me of people with open arms in the book of Mark. People were bringing little children to Jesus for him to place his hands on them, but the disciples rebuked them. But when Jesus saw this, he was indignant and said to them, "Let the little children come to me, and do not hinder them. For the kingdom of God belongs to such as these. Truly I tell you, anyone who will not receive the kingdom of God like a little child will never enter it." And he took and placed the children in his arms and his hands on them, and he blessed them. That reminds me of our physical therapy centers in Morocco. And I've asked Mike and Ann to share a little bit with us about the impact that our physical therapy centers have had.
I guess one of the other really important things that I remember and and it's probably as close to your heart as anything, is the children's therapy centers.
We saw the therapy centers in Rabat, Dr. Kabaj's therapy center, where they did just manual movements on the children, and they were crying. And then after the earthquake started, there was a center that was in the works and started up in the north, and that became the first GMA Children's Therapy Center, where all the therapy was based on play. And the kids were happy, and their parents were happy, because the people in the therapy center, the therapists and those who are trained in Morocco, would actually touch their children and love them.
Mm-hmm. They realized that God loves those children, even though they're terribly disabled and limited, and they didn't have to bring them out, keep them in the back room and let them just die anymore. Yeah, and that was the beginning of a whole network of children's therapy centers then that developed across the northern part of Morocco, and through the years we've watched those centers eventually be turned over to the Moroccans to run them, and they're all still going today, which is a tribute to the great work that the physical therapy teams did in setting them up. We like to think we have, well, I don't take any credit for this, but the therapists have developed a franchise, so to speak. They know how to start and run a children's therapy center, and so we dream about this same thing happening in some of the other countries that God has led us to now, don't we? And that makes us, that excites us about what God is doing and is going to do in the future with children's therapies.
Mike and Ann, thank you for sharing a little bit about our physical therapy centers in Morocco. And it's exciting to see firsthand our physical therapists with open arms as they reach out to the families, but also the children. Thinking about that, are we, am I ready with open arms to do what we're called to do today? Right now is a great time to grab your cell phone and text a donation to Gateway Medical Alliance through our text to give. If you grab your cell phone and put in the number 253-881-8686, once again that's 253-881-8686, you can go ahead and text a donation right now to Gateway Medical Alliance. Thank you for being a champion for Gateway.
Do you remember that going into the mayor's office that day with our friend Steve and one of the followers of the way who had introduced us to the mayor, and the mayor asking me, "Why did you come here?" And all I could say was, "I want to help." And remember what he said?
He said, "Oh, I see. You're a humanitarian."
And I nodded yes, and everybody else in the room nodded yes. And that was God planted the seed for GMA in our hearts that very day. So we came home, we partnered with Medical Teams International, what's called Northwest Medical Teams then, and learned how to ship containers. We didn't have a clue, really.
No.
It was
It was a pretty wild ride.
It was a wild ride. So we started shipping those containers, and I wanted to be there when they got there. So most often I would go and leave you home with Zach. I would go over there and wait for the container, and it would get stuck in the port, or somebody'd forget that I was coming. I made a lot of trips that ended up just waiting. But the Lord has been faithful through the years with shipping containers. Not only there, but then so many other countries we've seen him open up to our shipping effort.
As the Spikers have just shared with us, there are many times where unexpected things take place in each one of our lives. Just think about Mike sitting in the mayor's office and being told, "You're a humanitarian." That statement helped develop and birth what Gateway Medical Alliance is today, providing humanitarian resources for the poor and the disadvantaged around the world. Not just Morocco, but other countries like Cambodia, Liberia, Ghana, Guinea, and others along the way. That brings up our third point. And our third point is, I am ready for the unexpected. I am ready for the unexpected. That reminds me of a visit to C.H. Rennie Hospital outside of Monrovia. That morning, we loaded up the car, the SUV, with wheelchairs and walkers and an IV pole and medical supplies to give to the hospital later that day. As we drove to the hospital, we entered a gravel road and drove into the community, escorted by a motorcycle who was giving us directions. When we arrived at the hospital, we quickly learned that earlier that day, there had been a motorcycle accident in that community. Well, the patient was in the hospital who crashed his motorcycle, was having an IV without an IV pole. As the administrator looked on top of the SUV, he saw the IV pole that was there and said, "We can use that." It was unexpected that day that we'd be able to bring something that would be used that very same day. But that patient had an IV pole to use next to his bed. C.H. Rennie Hospital just always sticks in my mind as a place to visit. But you know, earlier this year, it was a different thing that took place that was completely unexpected for each one of us. Watching online, seeing a fire taking place at C.H. Rennie Hospital. As an individual in the labor and delivery area had a candle to illuminate the room. And the fumes from the generator, just a normal Honda generator that you and I would get at Home Depot, and the fumes from that generator burst into flames, and the hospital caught on fire. Now, we have an opportunity to be part of that unexpected. And working with Honorary Cy Joseph, we have the opportunity now to help send supplies to this hospital, to help them rebuild and become a great facility once again. We each are ready for the unexpected, even though at times we don't like to see it. But great things can come from the unexpected. Let's look at 3 ways you might be able to be a champion for Gateway. 1, do you have stock that you'd be interested in donating to Gateway as a gift? Does your employer have a matching funds program? Or do you have an IRA that you need to do a distribution of funds? Talk to your financial advisor and they can instruct you on how you can give to Gateway Medical Alliance. Today, as we've looked at adaptability, we have already covered 3 points. Let's do a quick review. The first one is, I have a flexible schedule. The second was, I'm ready with open arms. The third was, I'm ready for the unexpected. And our last is, I can do all things. Think of playing darts and aiming for that target, that center bullseye. Wayne Gretzky says, you miss 100% of your shots you do not take. You miss 100% of your shots you do not take. You have to be able to take a shot, give it a try, take that risk, and move forward. In Philippians it says, I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, Whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. Let's listen to Mike and Ann as they talk about Othello and opening the door to be able to send containers to his home country of Liberia.
As we saw Morocco grow up in terms of their medical abilities, we began to wonder, well, if we're not needed there anymore, what shall we do? And it was the Lord's provision to bring along Othello, the wonderful little man, a very humble, simple man from Liberia who was working there at the warehouse at Crate Tech.
He was a janitor.
He was a janitor. He came up to me one day and he said, "Can you ship a container to my country?"
To Liberia.
And it took a couple of years to get that going, and that was about the time we were passing the baton to Greg. And he has assumed that baton, and now we've shipped, I think it's 25 containers to Liberia. All because Othello was bold enough to ask. And not only that, we're shipping containers to Ghana, and we're shipping containers to Cambodia, have great partnerships in those countries, Uganda, and a number of other places that we've sent lesser numbers.
I can do all things, and so can you. I want to invite you to look at some ways that we're doing some exciting things coming up in the future at Gateway Medical Alliance. First of all, just to review our mission. Gateway Medical Alliance, through strategic partnerships, serves as a catalyst to improve the lives of the poor and disadvantaged by sharing healthcare resources worldwide. Now, everything we do ties into our mission, building strategic partnerships, helping the poor and disadvantaged with medical resources. We can do it together, and we need your help to join us. This next year, we have wheelchairs that are going to quickly be going to Morocco. And these wheelchairs are with a program called Red Goes Faster. Boys and girls throughout our physical therapy centers and in the communities around will receive wheelchairs just like this to give them the mobility to get around and help their community. Also this next year, we plan on sending containers filled with medical supplies to our partnering countries around the world. Recently, a nursing school in Morocco has asked us to bring healthcare professionals to their school to teach workshops and seminars on healthcare issues. If you are a healthcare professional and interested in joining us on one of those future trips, reach out to me directly, and I'd be glad to help you understand more about what we're going to be doing as we develop the plans for these upcoming trips. In Liberia, we've been asked by Honorary Side Joseph to partner with them as they build a new rural hospital outside of Monrovia. Gateway will be assisting with helping with the furnishings, but also the supplies that will be going into this hospital. We look forward to seeing this project over the next few years get started as the hospital is being built. We look forward to seeing what's ahead for Gateway Medical Alliance in the days, years, and months ahead. It's an exciting time to be a champion at Gateway Medical Alliance. And whether you've been a champion for many years, volunteering or giving of your time, or financially supporting the organization, or today is your very first day of being a champion, we each have a lot to celebrate. From the 12 containers that have been sent out from October 2020 to September 2021, or the work that's taking place in our physical therapy centers, or the health education classes that are taking place, or the work that is being done in the hospitals and clinics that we support. Together, as champions, we together are making a difference around the world to help the poor and the disadvantaged. Today, I want us to look at 3 ways that we can be champions. The first way is praying for Gateway Medical Alliance. Pray for our partners. Pray for our team members and volunteers. And this can be done whether you're here in the Puget Sound, across the United States, or around the world. The second area is looking at volunteering. How can you be a volunteer for Gateway? We talked about a flexible schedule earlier in our presentation. Can you find time in your schedule to be flexible and come down on a Tuesday, a Wednesday, a Thursday? Do you know we have a chiropractor who closes down his business every quarter, one day in the morning, and brings his staff down and invites his patients to volunteer in our warehouse? Each of us can volunteer in our own unique way. It doesn't have to be every week. It could be every other, or once a month, or once a quarter. But on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, from 9 to 1, we encourage you to come down one day and see what's going on. Also, we have opportunities for people to pick up supplies and bring them to our warehouse. Also, there's opportunities for groups, small groups, businesses, and others to be involved. Come volunteer and be a champion in our warehouse. The third area is supporting Gateway financially. Many of you have given over the years very faithfully, and thank you for your gift. Your continued gift allows us to continue to do the things that we've been called to do. But today, I want to invite those who have not given to give financially to Gateway. This can be a one-time gift, or it can be a gift that is a monthly gift or a quarterly gift. There's many different ways to give. But what can you give? I know that each of you have sat down today before you even got on the show and said, how much am I going to give? You had that made up in your mind. But I want you to think beyond that. Let's double that amount that we had in our mind. So if it was $100, let's make it $200. If it was $500, let's make it $1,000. If you can't double it, can you go beyond what you thought you would give today? Each of us can have an impact and be a champion to support Gateway Medical Alliance as we continue to provide healthcare resources for the poor and the disadvantaged around the world. Let me wrap up with a story from Haiti. VF is a sweet young lady who is 28 years old and has been fighting seizures for many years. She has 2 daughters, ages 1 and 5. She lives in an area about an hour and a half from a clinic that we support. She lives in a 1-room house made of rock and clay with a thatched roof and dirt on the floor. She's had many seizures, but she had a seizure in the kitchen and fell into a pot of boiling water and burnt her left arm, chest, and back. She continues to come daily to the clinic for a fresh changing, and she is almost healed. The clinic says, we appreciate all those that have helped Gateway Medical Alliance send the container to Haiti. Those supplies that we have, the gloves, the gauze, and other supplies, have treated VF and many others. It's not just one person. It's all of us working together. From our volunteers in the warehouse packing and sorting, to the guys that are loading the container, to those that are shipping the containers around the world, to those who are unloading those containers, to those at the clinics and the hospitals doing the distribution of supplies. Together, we are all champions, making a difference and being adaptable with what we have. As we conclude, do you have a flexible schedule? Are your arms open wide? Are you ready for the unexpected? Because together some great things can happen, because we together can do all things. Thank you for joining us. God bless, and have a great day.